Thorpe is there to take the candy.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel, and as always, joining me, Ronnie Big Smooth Hannigan. Ronnie, what's happening, man?
Not much, Mel. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this episode once again, and also thank you all for tuning out there.
All right, before we get started, this portion of our show is brought to you in part by Flow and Balance Yoga Studios. If you want to get your stretch on or just trying to release some stress peacefully throughout the course of a day, visit Flow and Balance Yoga Studios. And for more information, visit flowandbalance.life on the internet. All right, Super Bowl 54 is set. Niners, Chiefs. Now, I wanted to talk about the AFC title game because this one played out so differently in the second half than I imagined. The Titans were up 17, and you think they got it well in hand. Derrick Henry doing what he normally does, and then in the second half, Patrick Mahomes takes over. Another comeback, and Chiefs are in the Super Bowl.
You know, with this game, I know that I had some talks about this last week with regards to the matchup scenario. Favoritism, I felt, would have went more so toward the Titans if they were playing the Texans, because I thought the Texans had a similar style of play to the Ravens. However, with the Chiefs getting in there, I knew it would be a little bit closer, but maybe swing more toward the Chiefs. They definitely have one of the fastest receiving cores in the NFL. And as the game went on, that showed a little bit, along with Mahomes and his unorthodox style of how he handles the ball in these type of situations. And him alone, I mean, he put down a touchdown on his own with his feet and threw for 3 others. So he definitely was trying to get to this game. And with him being in that rookie contract, I know that they're probably looking to maybe give him a little bit more money, but he definitely wants to secure that by making this happen. So, you know, hats off to the Chiefs and them getting to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years. I'm definitely glad it's not New England.
Well, aren't we all? But let's be clear about something. Andy Reid has not had a quarterback this dynamic since he had McNabb in Philly. So if you're asking my personal opinion, they're going to pay this man regardless, because Andy Reid, for however long he's going to keep coaching, he's not going to give up Mahomes and let somebody else have him. He fits the system. He runs it right. He makes smart plays. You know, he's the AFC version of Russell Wilson.
True.
So I don't see Andy Reid letting them get rid of Patrick Mahomes that easy, if at all. So they're going to pay him. He's earned his contract just off the turnaround that they've had, even with Dorsey being here as general manager. You know, even through the power struggle, Mahomes improved, got to the AFC Championship, lost to New England, comes back this year, makes it to the Super Bowl. They're going to pay this man. He's getting his money one way or another.
You know, speaking of which, when you mentioned Mahomes, and I definitely agree with what you said that he's more of like a AFC's version of Russell Wilson. I can definitely see that. I do want to ask you, though, with regards to it, since the Ravens are knocked out last week, and you got somebody like Mahomes who previously won the MVP, if he gets all the way to the Super Bowl, and let's say he pulls it off and is able to win it as well, do you see that swinging his way in terms of an MVP title again?
Yeah, I can, because, you know, looking at Kansas City's offense, they are very balanced. Don't let Mahomes' arm and the gawky passing numbers fool you. He has a balanced offense. He has Tyreek Hill. He's got a plethora of running backs. You know, he's got Sammy Watkins on the other side. He has what he needs. And I get it, at some point the team's going to have to split up if they don't win the Super Bowl this year. But if you keep most of what he's had this year intact and then give him, bolster up that defense a little bit more, I could see him turning into Peyton Manning 2.0. You know, not becoming the greatest passer of all time, but you know, he'll win games, and he'll win games smartly. Like I said, he's a smart guy. You know, granted, coming from Texas Tech, pass happy Big 12 league, but when you have such a dynamic passer as Mahomes, these quarterbacks kill you. I don't care who you are, what kind of defense you got. The quarterbacks kill you. You look at any team with a great defense, and then you look at somebody like Joe Montana. You look at somebody like Brett Favre. When you throw an offense that he can run and run efficiently in front of him, he turns into Peyton Manning. Turns into, dare I say, Roger Staubach, just to throw some names out there. But the point is, you see these quarterbacks and you see how they operate when you give them what they need. These guys are dangerous.
Very true. And the way the league is set up right now, I mean, it's basically one of those ones where, you know, unfortunately, it's not something that's based solely off of having like a very strong running back. That's definitely key. But at the same time, man, you got to have a QB to make this thing work. And we definitely saw that. Now we'll get into the opposite side of that when we talk about the NFC game, but just based off of what we saw today, you definitely want a game manager like Patrick Mahomes back there, and I definitely can see him turn out to be kind of like a Peyton Manning type. So it'll be interesting to see what his future looks like and what it looks like once he actually reaches his full potential, because I still don't feel like he's there yet, even though he's definitely balling out of his mind.
Oh, yeah. And when he does get there, it's going to be very scary because he'll be in his prime. You know, he's only, 22, 23, maybe 24 right now. Mm-hmm. You know, he hits 26, 27. It's going to be a whole different person. You're not going to know how to deal with it because he's going to be looking unstoppable.
Right.
Now, from that, I did want to say this. To stop Derrick Henry and only give him 69 yards on 19 carries, even though he did score a touchdown, that makes me believe that with the Super Bowl coming up, I think this might be the game that becomes the most interesting game of the 100 season of the NFL, just because Kansas City's defense did not look like this all year. And in the second half, they turned it up. They got stops. They got turnovers. They held Ryan Tannehill to 209 yards. Although they didn't cause any turnovers, they still got him to a point where he was not on the par that he was these last two playoff games. So going into the Super Bowl, I'm curious to see how Andy Reid has them prepare for Jimmy Garoppolo.
And, you know, speaking of Garoppolo, it was interesting to see, just based off of that game, how much they didn't really need him today. I mean, the way that he played, they, you know, didn't really utilize him as much, which we'll get more into in a little bit. But like you said, you know, it'll be interesting to see how they handle Garoppolo in that passing attack, slowing down Kittle and some other guys out there catching the ball, because we all know a team ran by, you know, Shanahan is going to have a lot of play action. There's going to be a lot of reading going on. There's going to be definitely a utilization of the run game for sure. And also on top of that, you got to be wary of that quarterback being able to throw deep because you're so focused on loading guys in the box. So it's very methodical. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this game. And like you said, it's going to be one of those top games of, you know, the NFL 100 and one of the ones that we'll be talking about for a long time. So I can't wait for this game to happen, man. I feel like Mahomes definitely going to show off, but that 49ers defense is definitely ready to go as well, too.
And speaking of defense, we turn it over to the NFC title game. And again, this game kind of went exactly how I thought it was going to go, except Green Bay tried to put up a fight, but it was too little, too late. Niners, once again, at home with the crowd behind them and the defense, they turn it up early and never let their foot off the gas. End up winning 37-20. and they advanced to their 7th Super Bowl. And this game was led by the run game, believe it or not. I thought Garoppolo was going to have a field day on these DBs of Green Bay because, Green Bay's DBs aren't the greatest. They aren't really suspect, but you put them in a position to make a play. You hardly saw it this year because their front seven was so dominant.
That's very true, and it's something that now people were talking about. And I felt as though going into this game that it was going to be a struggle for whoever couldn't stop the run. I know last week we talked a little bit about this, and having Jones back there running the ball, if they couldn't get him going, that was like the part of the offense where they kind of needed him a little bit more. But that front four, man, on 49ers side of the ball, it's just ridiculous. He definitely made a little bit of an impact, but it came down to Rodgers having to, utilize Adams like we spoke of as well too. But those other pieces that he had in previous years. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, my computer once again, it's on the fritz. I'm had it with this thing, but here's an interesting stat. Because remember how we were talking about Tannehill not having to be as efficient the last 2 playoff games. Garoppolo, only 6-8, 77 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But he threw enough passes to keep Green Bay's secondary honest.
True.
And my thing with this is, if you're that efficient in the run game, in the title game, the conference championship, you guys got something on your mind or just want to start your very own podcast? Have you tried the Anchor app? It's free and easy to use. The creation tools allow you to record and edit your own podcast right from your phone or your computer. Not only is the Anchor app easy to use, but it'll also distribute your podcast so you can be heard not only on the Anchor app, but on Spotify and Apple Podcasts too. In addition to making your own podcast, you can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go online to anchor.fm to get started. All right, folks, we're back and we apologize for the technical difficulties. We appreciate you guys sticking with us. Once again, this portion of our show is brought to you in part by Train Like Rambo Fitness. Want to get your gym body back or get ready for the summer? Visit Train Like Rambo Fitness at New Life Fitness Camp. Contact Abe Taylor at 216-704-8344 or abetaylorsenior@gmail.net. Well, .com, excuse me. Okay, we were talking about the Niners-Packers game. And Raheem Mostert had 220 yards, 4 touchdowns. I have a question because I was wondering this earlier. With the way San Francisco ran the ball, is it safe to say that linebacking core missed Clay Matthews just a little bit?
Oh yeah, most definitely. You figure with him in the middle there, it definitely makes teams think a little bit twice about how they're going to run the ball or if they're going to let their running backs you know, be up in there that long to take that kind of punishment. I feel like with Clay Matthews out there, it definitely changes your whole perspective and what you want to do offensively. But with this game, yeah, they definitely missed him for sure. And, you know, it was just one of those things where, like, look, if it ain't broke, then do what you got to do. Keep going. Don't try to fix it. They felt like, okay, well, if we're up 27-0 or whatever, and we've already, you know, scored a couple of rushing touchdowns here at the beginning and another one in the third, it's like, why even try to run the ball at this point? Because our defense is going to keep us. I mean, why even try to throw the ball, at this point? Because our defense is keeping us where we need to be. They obviously can't stop this run game, so let's just keep it going and keep feeding the ball and keep running the clock down so we can get out of here and go home. That was just crazy. Like 200-some yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's kind of embarrassing in a way too, especially at a game of that caliber. And you got to play from behind to try to see if you can do something differently. You know, I kind of feel bad for Aaron Rodgers and what he has been going through these last couple of years, but it just goes to show you, man, like sometimes a team is just outmatched in various aspects of the game. And with this one, it felt like the 49ers just had the better defense, obviously. But on offense, they show that they definitely have a really good run game. And that's something that needs to be looked at going into next week. Or, sorry, 2 weeks from now, excuse me.
It was something that you got to think about.
Definitely.
My other thing was, you know, with Jimmy Garoppolo not having to throw that many passes, do you think the run game is going to stand up to Kansas City coming up? You know, I don't think Kansas City has enough to stop San Fran, because San Fran has 3 running backs and all of them are capable of gaining 100 yards. So, you know, I know Mike Shanahan's going to have a great game plan for this, but I want to know if Kansas City's defense has enough to slow down what Mike Shanahan wants to do.
You know, it's kind of funny talking about that because I had a similar thought like that with regards to how they were going to slow down Derrick Henry. To your point, they have a few running backs they could use, so it doesn't matter if one person's legs don't seem as fresh. They can just rotate them guys around, and they're obviously capable of breaking off 100 yards, all 3 of them. So it's going to be really interesting to see how you plan for 3 different running backs versus one who primarily is, you know, a downhill runner. These 3 guys coming in here, they all can run the ball. They all can play every down if they needed to. They all can catch as well. So a very different dynamic on this team with having the type of skills. And they all do block very well too on passing plays as well. So that's just a totally different ball game. I feel like there'll be some adjustments. Maybe they only prevent them from doing more than maybe 150 for the whole game, but it's just going to come down to pretty much a slugfest of the line of scrimmage, and then also seeing what these quarterbacks do. I just wonder how the defense is going to be able to stop Mahomes and kind of rattle him a little bit, because just as much as he's shown today that he can use his feet a little bit, he's not really known too much for that, but he also is very comfortable in the pocket. So how do you collapse that, and how do you get him in trouble to make him make mistakes?
Right. And don't forget, because I'm glad you brought this up, this will be the first defensive line that has speed across the board. So it's going to be I'm interested rather. I'm interested in seeing how well Patrick Mahomes is able to move when he realizes there's a nose tackle, there's another nose tackle, and there are two defensive ends that have speed and can probably catch me.
Yeah, that's gonna be freaky because you figure you got two D ends, right? Who can run
Bosa,
like 4.5, 4.6, whatever. Then you have these interior linemen who I don't think they even run a 5. I think they're like a 4.8 or something like that. It's just kind of weird because it's so quick across the board, and then they're so disciplined as well when it comes to not jumping the snap count and getting different cases barked at them. So they're very well disciplined as well. So all the little trick plays or things that Andy Reid is known for doing too, when it comes to extending downs and getting penalties to kind of get them like to the next spot, I don't think that's something that's going to be a mistake you see by the 49ers defensive line. This is going to be a trip, man. These guys are coming in here in this game really having to take their players and set up like a chess match and figure out, who's going to be the one to come out on top.
right? And it's more. I don't think it's more of a chess match. I think this is one of those. Who has the better playbook when it comes to normal situations like 3rd and long, 3rd and short, 4th and short? Do you go for it? Do you not go for it? I'm waiting to see how Shanahan and Andy Reid come out with this one, and one of the more exciting Super Bowls to watch because it's so unique. It's not New England. It's not, Seattle or, dare I say, the Joe Montana 49ers. This is a new 49ers team led by defense.
Right.
And you can't, granted, you had Ronnie Lott, you had Bill Romanowski back in the day, then you had Merton Hanks and Dion, and then after that, they kind of wavered off a little bit. Now you got Bosa, you got Richard Sherman. Man, I'm excited. This might be one of the better Super Bowls in the last 10 years.
Oh, I definitely agree with that one because you figure all the ones we've seen in the last 5-10 years has been so lopsided, with the exception of New England versus Philly. I mean, it's been lopsided. Like, one team definitely would have the advantage going into the third quarter. You're like, okay, do I still continue to guzzle a couple of beers or whatever you're having? Am I still going to refill my chip bowl? Like, do I turn this off and find something else to do? Is there something I got to do at work the next day? Somebody turn this off. That's kind of how it's been the last few years for me. And seeing this game, it's like, look, I'm about to have my phone on airplane mode. I'm about to be not posting a bunch of stuff. I'm going to just sit there and actually watch the game, not talk to nobody, just, have a whole lot of fun with it, man, and see what I can do here, and not even think about nothing but that game that's going to be on. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like I said, it's going to be another exciting edition here, man. I just cannot wait. It's got a lot of potential for being one of those games where it's like, look, no matter who wins, it'd be one I think the fans would want to see again.
Right. All right. From that, we go to our trivia question that was on our Facebook page. The question was, what was ESU's record in the program at the end of the season? Unfortunately, only one person answered, so shout out to my homie Phil Puma. He was one of my quarterbacks in my playing days when I was in my prime. Y'all don't even know. But he said 7-5, so he was the closest one to even answer. So I gave this one to him. But he asked a very good question. He actually asked two. The first one was, is Ryan Tannehill really a fluky quarterback, or can he actually continue to have success in the NFL?
Well, with that question, I would say this because we touched upon that a little bit last week. I know we were trying to figure out what would be another team that would be willing to pick up Brady, because we've already seen here that obviously he has not been offered any kind of extension. And the way his contract agreement is, he'll be an unrestricted free agent for the first time in 20 years. He also will be somebody who has a clause in his current contract where the team is not allowed to franchise tag him. So with that being said, we're trying to figure out, where would he go? Who would be willing to give up their quarterback starting position in order to make that happen? And I know you have mentioned to me, like, hey, why not Tennessee? And with Mike Vrabel being his boy and somebody he played with, that definitely will make a lot of sense. And I feel like that's something that could happen. But as far as Tannehill goes, I feel like he definitely is a legitimate quarterback. He wasn't really given a whole lot of tools in Miami. He definitely has someone like Jarvis to throw to, but outside of that, I'm not sure if his offensive line was ever good enough to really give him the protection he needed to do anything. And also
in Miami, not even.
Right. And then the run game,
obsolete.
Right. Like who was even back there? I mean, especially now.
Nope. Nobody you remember.
Right. Exactly. Like I think Ajayi had one season with him or a couple seasons, and he ended up going to Philly. Other than that, I mean, they don't really have anybody we could really tell you guys about that would even be worth talking about. So I don't think he got a fair shake there, man. I felt like with Tennessee, he had some players, had better coaching, obviously. I think he's legit. I just think he needs the right tools to be put around him, and they weren't investing in him the way they should have.
Okay, so it's not just me. I felt the same way when he was in Miami because, let's be real, we said this a couple times last week. You don't get a fair shake in Miami. Not this Miami. If Dan Marino had just left and you right behind him, then yeah. But this Miami is terrible. It's no way around it. You can't fathom what you have to go through as a quarterback with no offensive line, no running backs, and Jarvis Landry left. What do you do?
Exactly. And then you figure the different people they've had come through and leave that was on defense, and I don't know, man, the whole Richie Incognito situation. It was just a lot of just dumb stuff happening with that franchise. And, for a long time, you could look at them and go, okay, it's sunny, it's nice outside, maybe people come to the game, maybe they say, forget that, I'm going to the beach or whatever. It's just a different feel down there. And on top of that, like you said, Dan Marino, if you were right behind him, cool, you got something to look forward to. People respected him. They saw the fact they had a team that they could enjoy watching. And since then, just hasn't really gained back the type of field that it used to have. Other than them randomly beating the Patriots once in a while during the regular season, I mean, that's been the biggest hype they've had, is like, we can say we've beaten the Patriots more than most teams, which is something that's true because historically they've had some struggles against Miami. I don't know what that's about, especially since their secondary is completely different. Different coaches have come through there, but New England historically has struggled against Miami. It's really weird. But yeah, man, that's pretty much the highlight of what their franchise has been doing in the last 10 years or 15 years. So,
right. And his next question, you've asked me this, everybody else has asked me this. I've encountered this question so many times. So we're going to put it on the air. Does Lamar Jackson, how long does he keep this play up the way he plays? How long does he keep it up? Or is he going to end up like another RG3?
Ooh, that's hard, man. With Lamar Jackson, so I feel like if for some reason they don't go beyond the second round of the playoffs next year, it might be one of them situations where, to avoid becoming similar to or being dealt the same type of deal as RG3, he may want to get out of there. I don't know what it is about that franchise. Like, they're like these regular season champs right now. You figure last year they, didn't do as well as they did this year, but they were in the playoffs. They got more wins this year, obviously with 14-2, had home field advantage, all that great stuff that you want. But in the end, it just didn't do anything for them, and they have messed up without being able to get to any further in the playoffs than they had in previous years. But with Lamar Jackson, I feel like he's definitely more gifted athletically, does a better job in throwing the ball because he takes time to work on that in the offseason. But overall,
Baker, pay attention.
Man, please, Baker, please. Oh my goodness. But on top of that, I just think with Lamar Jackson in his situation, I give it one more season. I feel like he definitely has to make it happen next year. I wouldn't count them out. I think that maybe we have a really decent draft. We sign some guys and kind of just go from there because a lot of the pieces that they have are good pieces. We're not going to say they're a bad team at all because they're not. But I do feel like they need maybe one or two more guys, and they need for Jackson to just make it happen this year coming up. So we'll look and see what they do. But I don't think he is like an RG3 type. I don't think it'll be that drastic. But I feel like if it doesn't happen next year, if I were him, I would try to get out of Baltimore, man.
You know what? I don't think he's RG3 in the slightest. But at this stage of the game, meaning the way the AFC and the NFC is set up, why would you want to leave Baltimore? Think about that. You run the AFC North as of right now. Ben is on the decline. I don't know why he wants to come back, but he does. But Ben's on the decline. Baker has showed you in head-to-head competition, you only got the best of you one time. So basically, you have a 2 games of 1 advantage over him right now.
True.
And with Cincinnati, let's call it what it is. It's Cincinnati. You can run Cincinnati out of the division for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Why would you want to leave? They're bolstering the defense. The defense is getting older, but at the same time, they're still finding young pieces through practice squads, off waivers. Draft is coming up, so they have a few picks there. Ask yourself, why would you want to? Do you absolutely need to leave Baltimore if that just because you make it and then you get sent home? Let's look at that reality. Nobody was really in this year's playoffs. Nobody was really ready for Derrick Henry. Nobody expected to see Derrick Henry. Everybody expected to see James Conner and Smith. So that threw a monkey wrench in the whole format of the playoffs. But looking at the reality of the situation, if you're asking me and I'm in the shoes of Lamar Jackson and I see what's playing out in front of me as far as at least my division goes, I got another, I would say 3 years easy where I'm either winning the division or making the playoffs at 10-6, 11-5, 12-4. I'm not sure I want to leave Baltimore. Granted, when my contract's up, everybody's going to want a piece of me. Everybody's going to be vying to sign me. But if that money ain't talking and I see my division looks like shit and I got 3 years, good years of winning it outright, I might stay in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's the thing that concerns me. I wonder if they're going to actually be able to extend him what he deserves in the next couple of seasons. Who will they have to get rid of to make that happen? Is it going to be worth that type of investment to take that kind of hit? Because I feel like on defense they're going to have a struggle where it's going to be guys like maybe someone like Humphreys or with Earl Thomas being older, are they going to be able to find that replacement that they need for the defense?
Man, Earl Thomas needs to retire after the game he gave us.
Oh, definitely, man. I mean, for him, like you said last week, man, the way he talked,
Earl
every time
be stiff on back the league.
Oh man, like And here they were thinking, okay, Eric Weddle's gone, right? You bring in Thomas, you're thinking, okay, we got a little bit of an upgrade. That's what you thought. And then, I don't know. And like he said, he showed out most of the regular season, but when it counted, it was just...
You saw Derrick Henry and froze up like everybody else.
Right, man. It just didn't work out. So I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do with that, because they gave him a bunch of money too, and I don't know, man. I feel like you said, because of the way it's lined up, you wouldn't want to leave necessarily. But if you're somebody who's like championship chasing, who knows, man? Maybe things will turn around the next year or two. Maybe they'll finally make that hump, at least get to the AFC Championship next year. That would be dope to see them against someone like, Kansas City, or like a rematch against Tennessee in that particular game. I would love that, actually. I would really love that scenario.
That would be good for him to extract some revenge too.
Definitely.
We didn't have a lot to talk about, but so we're just going to keep going through, because there's no reason to cut to a commercial. We didn't have a lot going on this week. But while we're on the subject, this portion of our show is brought to you in part by Supreme Clean Car Wash. If you're in the Akron area, you want to get your car clean, visit Supreme Clean Car Wash at 441 West Avenue in Talmadge, Ohio. 330-633-2809. Ask for Jimmy Milton. He'll get you together. Okay. Not football related, but I had to bring this up because we're both baseball fans. The Houston Astros,
man,
got caught cheating. Now, I didn't get a chance to get all the details, but the fact that you got caught cheating lets me know y'all have no idea what you're doing. Because, for one, it's baseball, so everybody stole somebody's signs at one point or another. But you did this so consistently. Every team you've played against has said the same story. How does this work? How do you get busted like this?
On top of that, there's a lot of fans calling for more players to be dealt with as well, because they went right after management, obviously, which makes sense because they knew what was going on, right? So you got to start at the head, but they're calling for players to get, tagged through as well too. And at this point, it's like it's been done so much and so often with them. It's almost like, okay, what do you do with that? Are you going to say you guys just are suspended a certain amount of games you can't play? Are you forfeiting like the postseason? Like, I don't even know what they would do at this point that they haven't done already. I feel like there needs to be more. But I'm not sure what that looks like exactly, because I've never seen anything like this at all since I've been around.
Not since the Black Sox scandal, but that was over 100 years ago.
Right. Man, I don't know, man. This is just a dark thing that happened just in general to not only this team, but to the game of baseball, and to see that, man, because we've all seen little things happen in the past, between, of course, the substance abuse as far as like performance enhancing drugs and corking bats. But this kind of stuff. But that's all stuff that made the game exciting. Like, let's be real about it. Baseball, yes, you're a baseball fan, I'm a baseball fan, but there is no way, unless it's a very big game or it's the World Series or it's something along that nature, that we're actually going to step foot in Progressive Field. But at the same time, the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire home run battle, that was fun to watch. Granted, they were both on steroids. Sammy was on steroids. Can't claim me to believe different. You see Mark McGwire, he's on steroids. Right.
But at the same time, it was still fun to watch because they made baseball exciting.
True.
And then you saw, it's a cork bat, man. Who cares? Does the ball travel? You ain't guaranteed to hit a home run every time you step up the bat. So who cares if the bat is corked or not? That's just my personal opinion. And if you feel that strongly about it, change it. Give everybody aluminum bats. Problem solved.
Right. Back to college, man. I feel it.
Yeah. And then on top of that, with the Barry Bonds thing, y'all knew he was off steroids. Like, you go back and look at some of his early days. Hell, you could look at some of these players in movies that they were in and tell that some of them were. You knew who was on steroids just by looking at them.
Oh, especially Barry Bonds. There's a movie he's in playing baseball, and I think he was at was it second base or first base? He was playing infield. First of all,
yeah, and he's an outfielder.
Right, he's an outfielder. Like, that dude was running. He played like 3 different positions. I think at one point he was doing shortstop. He was doing like second base, and then he's playing like right field or whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, this man out here running, jumping the wall like Ken Griffey and Kenny Lofton, and all of a sudden he just bulky and too big to where he can't play anything other than DH and first base. Out of nowhere, just swell up. You know what I mean? Okay. But folks like, oh, well, we'll check and see, maybe he's on something. We have no idea. And like, okay. Here's a good example for you. Even to go on that route. Pudge Rodriguez.
Oh, man.
Bruh. Bruh. Do you see how quick he dropped weight? This man's been nicknamed Pudge for as long as I can remember, right? Thick, long, get out, just huge, right?
And plays catcher.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this man is 50 to 60 pounds lighter, out here looking like a DeBarge.
And stealing bases. Pudge was never known for stealing bases.
Exactly. Stealing bases? Like, oh, man, come on. These cats are dropping weight left and right. Oh, they doing that? Oh, yeah, I'm about to go ahead and get natural. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. And just got fast out of nowhere. And this is like, oh, this is the real you. Okay, this is the guy that we should have been seeing.
Right. Now, here's my thing. If you're gonna go after the players, I say make it fair. And what I mean by that is, all right, folks, once again, we apologize for the technical difficulties, but we're back, and this portion of our show is brought to you in part by Top Notch Removal. If you want to get you got a fixer-upper you're trying to get ready to sell, call Top Notch Removal and visit them. The number for that place is 800-9910. 216-800-9910. Ask for Kelvin Moses. All right, we were talking about the Houston Astros scandal, and to finish up where I was going with that, I was saying if they're going to get management, which we already knew was going to happen, I think they should knock the whole team down a peg. You gotta put the me in it somewhere. It's one thing to tell my teammates, hey, when when the pitcher wants to throw a curve, lift his elbow and tip his pitch. But you got guys sitting in the stands. You got guys sitting in the dugout with binoculars or cell phones from what I was hearing. Like, something got to give, man. That's not exciting. That's just downright cheating. That's worse than anything the Patriots ever did.
Right, and then didn't they recently win a World Series or went to?
Yeah, a couple years back. In fact, it was the year they won the World Series.
So they should just strip it then at this point, right?
At this point, what could you do? You can't strip it. I mean, you could if you really wanted to go that far, but it's not really going to do you much good.
Yeah, because technically you can't just be like, oh, you know what? By default, we're going to call you guys the World Series champions. It's like, I don't think it worked like that either. So I guess that's a good point.
Well, we'll see. But, I just feel like, if you're going to get everybody, get everybody. All right. From the Houston Astros scandal. Before we get into our last topic, we're going to jump on the Super Bowl predictions. And I wanted to hear your prediction for the Super Bowl because this is one we hardly get to talk about as fans and as spectators of the sport. Now you know who's playing in the Super Bowl. What are your expectations and your predictions?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate with this one. I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I'm going to say that the Chiefs can do it.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna go a different route here. I'm gonna be that oddball, that person that people are like, yeah, you're crazy. It doesn't make sense on paper, it doesn't make sense on film, but I feel like the Chiefs have an opportunity to do something that is unthinkable. I feel like Mahomes is just on fire right now, and deep down, I feel like Garoppolo is a little bit suspect, though. I don't think he's been tested as much on his end. He's kind of just had to be out there hiking the ball for the most part, the way the offense is run. He's had maybe one or two games where he's had to throw multiple touchdowns. It's just not something that I feel like he's ready for, to be on that kind of stage as a starter. And I feel like Mahomes is ready for that. I just think it's a different outcome. I feel like it'll be probably more of a shootout than people expect. I'm thinking that maybe Kansas City finds a way to slow down the run, or they just keep getting so many touchdowns that it's going to force San Fran to have to figure out, like, do we even need to run the ball right now because we got to keep up with them and force Garoppolo to pass more. So maybe that's the strategy that they have on their end as to how they're going to get ahead or, make this game a game for the 49ers to play from behind. It's probably what they're not used to doing. And I think that's something that you have to do on a team like that, is to come out early, get some early scores, and just keep it going from there and keep that momentum up. So I think the Chiefs have an opportunity to actually do the unthinkable this game coming up in a couple of weeks. But it's definitely going to be offensively driven. I don't see it happening on defense, but I feel like they could put up some big numbers. I don't think the 49ers are really ready for the strategy that Reed has. I think the defense is athletically gifted enough to keep up with them, but I think it's going to be a different look from what they've seen all year. So I think the Chiefs might be able to actually do it.
right, folks, and we're back for the last portion of our show. We did our Super Bowl predictions, and as I said, I disagree. I think the Niners take this one, finish out the good season. I think Mike Shanahan has a great game plan, and all of his game plans this season have taken the edge off Jimmy Garoppolo. And if you look at most of those games, the big games of the season, Jimmy Garoppolo has played exceptionally well. So I think Mike Shanahan has got something for Garoppolo, and I think the Niners take this one.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait this one out, man, and see what happens. And, it should be an exciting game for everybody to watch. I feel as though it's going to be one for the ages, one that we probably didn't see coming from the beginning of the season. I know a lot of people had the 49ers favored to go all the way, which did happen. But with the terms of the Chiefs being against them this year, I don't think that's something that we saw coming. So, it should be very exciting to watch. And, with regards to that, I did want to ask you, it's a game that a lot of people don't really pay attention to as much as they used to. But how do you feel about the upcoming game next week with the AFC versus NFC? Do you pay attention to the Pro Bowl anymore? Has that kind of lost its flavor?
Honestly, it has. It's lost a lot of its flavor, and here's why. Don't get me wrong. I get it. It's the All-Star game, but this All-Star game is meant to be played after the season, not before the Super Bowl, not, after bowl season in college football. It's meant to be played after all the football games are done. And with Roger Goodell making it this dumb idea to do it before the Super Bowl, I think is really stupid, because you don't get to see everybody, and not your players don't even take it serious, And at one point, didn't he move it to like the Citrus Bowl down in Florida?
Right, he tried to do Florida, and that didn't make any sense. And we saw,
because it's supposed to be in Hawaii. That's why you send your players to Hawaii. That's why it's at Aloha Stadium, because it's the All-Star game. It's your vacation. If you made it, if you ain't already took one, you took the fun out of watching this game. And I do pay attention to it only because of the uniforms have gotten better. But other than that, it's not even fun no more. Back when Sean Taylor was playing, rest in peace, he would blast the punter for taking off and running. Now dudes are just making tackles just to make tackles. There's no hard hits. There's no big plays. It's just, it looks like the NBA All-Star game to me, just a shootout for no reason.
True. And you figure what they're also doing now too is, if it's like an extra point, they're just standing there like, okay, let's play patty cake, and we'll let the guy kick it, and that's pretty much it. There's no them trying to see if they can block it or not. There's no diving over the line or anything exciting to watch there either. And like you said, man, it's just guys trying to run up the score and see what they can get stat wise and look good once again. And basically a game full of people that are not playing the Super Bowl. Right. You've got different players who for a fact that are in the Super Bowl game that by default are now not going to be able to play in a Pro Bowl because they're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that makes no sense. That's why it was supposed to be held after the season. But I'm not the commissioner, so whatever. Okay. Don't have a lot of time with this, but I did. Well, we do and we don't. But I don't want our technical difficulties to keep going. But we're both football players, so I wanted to know who were your influences to get started in playing football?
Okay.
Like when you first started, from your first time you saw a game to right now, who were your influences? Who made you want to play football the most?
Now it's funny because getting started to play, what a lot of people don't know about me is that when it came to football, I was that kid who was always, playing in 7-on-7 games. I was always like a tight end type, doing flag football, stuff like that. I didn't grow up playing muni. I didn't do any kind of tackle football or anything until I got to high school. During that time frame, I was a hooper. So I was playing basketball. There was a team at the Y I was with downtown. There was also middle school squads and stuff like that. I didn't do any AAU because I didn't have that kind of luxury to be able to do that. So shout out to people who are involved. But the thing is, though, I was a hooper first and a swimmer. And when I got to high school, the problem there was I was always the tallest kid. And there was always a couple of guys, maybe my height or a little bit taller, but no more than an inch or two. And I played center or power forward. I get to high school, I'm 6'1", about 180 pounds. I'm trying to play center, but the problem is I was only able to play that or be close to it if I played JV. In high school, Division I level, cats out here was in the 9th grade, 10th grade already 6'7", 6'8", trying to play center. And that's a huge gap in terms of wingspan and height alone. So I was never going to make the varsity squad. It just wasn't going to happen. So with that being said, it forced me over to football. I knew I've always wanted to try to play that. Coming into it, my 9th grade year, I was making a decision to transition over completely. I kind of just gave basketball up altogether and would play random like 33 pickup games and all that stuff like that. But as far as team sports, I let it go. Started playing 10th grade. I get up in there, not really sure what position I was going to play. We already had tight ends. So if you don't know a position you play, you stuck on the line for a little bit at guard or tackle or whatever. Once I did get to that point, I started to study the game a little bit more heavily because I wanted to figure out what to do and how to do it better. I knew that my coaches would offer me a little bit of perspective, but at the same time, like anything that you want to necessarily have a relationship with, you got to kind of do the reading and the studying for yourself, right? Whether that's the sport that you play, the religion you practice, whatever, you got to do your own thing too. So I started doing that, and I learned a lot from the game. I had a lot of discussion with my dad, previous players, other coaches that he may have had that influenced him, and that's what really got me going. Watching players back then, like Javon Curse was somebody I followed very heavily as far as defensive ends go. Also, I was a huge, Erasmus James and Simeon Rice fan. Ray Lewis, obviously, seeing him play when he first got drafted was pretty huge as well. And then also, man, just looking at all these other defensive guys that you saw out there that was just doing their thing. That's what got me inspired the most to play, was watching guys like that or the ones that were in my actual position. So starting off, I was a hooper. I got forced over to play football because, believe it or not, which I tell people this, I wasn't tall enough to play the position I wanted to play in basketball. So I transitioned to football, put on an extra 20 within the summer, and just went for it and made the best of that. And I'm glad I made that change.
Well, you know what? I kind of, I'm not going to say I was on the same road as you story-wise, but growing up, football was always in my family. Wesley Carroll was my cousin. He went to John Hay, him and Tim McGee. These guys ran the Senate, and then Wesley goes to Miami, wins national championships, and I grew up watching him. So me personally, I wanted to be a receiver. Started playing Pee Wee with the East Cleveland Chiefs and found out I'm never going to get my way because the coach I had at the time, Ron Williams, shout out to him, he always believed in running the ball. Go figure. It wasn't until 97, 98 when Charles Woodson finally came into his own that I started looking at ways of how do I enhance what I already do? I know I can catch. I know I can run routes. And then I see Charles Woodson playing defense and offense. I was sold. And he won the Heisman too, which made it even better. So get to high school, and I've been trying out for the basketball team. Now, like you, I was never tall enough. And it bugged me to the point to know I was never going to be tall enough, so why keep going? And then football tryouts came out. I tried out. Coach Walker, he said, making the JV squad, cool, I'm with it. He gave me some very sound advice at that time too. He told me that I need to start being a student of the game and start watching people I looked up to. Charles Woodson, believe it or not, Vinny Sutherland over at Purdue at the time. And that's what made me, and Sean Taylor. Who could forget Sean Taylor? That's what made me want to play football and just like enjoy playing. So, by the time I got to my first year of indoor football, I look back on all the games I watched, especially in arena football. Kenny the Glove McIntyre. For those that don't know who that man is, go look him up. That is one of the greatest DBs you'll ever see in any level of football. Kenny the Glove McIntyre. Barry Wagner saw the Miracle Minute. I have never, just to give you an idea of how influential these guys were, Barry Wagner is the man who you will hear if you ever pay attention to indoor arena football. If you ever hear the Miracle Minute, that's this guy. He scored 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions, and got the onside kick in all under a minute to help them win the game against the Detroit Drive. Like, just knowing that there were people out there that do this and have fun, especially Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson always gonna be my top because Charles Woodson he broke a lot of ground for everybody, set a lot of standards for all DBs that have still yet to be broken. There's still, if you look back at the Heisman Trophy race, there's still not another defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. Charles Woodson is the only one, and he's from Ohio. How Ohio State let him get away, I would never understand.
Yeah, speaking of which, I mean, you could say the same about Trae Young. Oh, my goodness. Should I even go into that? I don't know if I should go into that. Ooh-wee.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna let that one go. That'd be a different week, man. I can't do that to our listeners right now. I can't. All right. Double whammies like that because not only you got a guy who comes from Ohio, but one that goes and plays for Michigan. Yeah, that's like a double negative. So I'm just gonna let that go.
Technically, let's Okay, folks, we apologize for that. I accidentally hit a button. But to finish up what I was saying, if you really think about that with the Charles Woodson thing, a lot of people don't know this. Charles Woodson was Mr. Ohio in football at tailback, and he had always wanted to play tailback. But when he was getting recruited by Ohio State, John Cooper didn't want him to play tailback. He wanted him to play something else. So, when Lloyd Carr comes to your doorstep and says, I'll let you play whatever you want, just come to Michigan, we'll figure it out. What are you going to do?
Oh, yeah, you definitely going to jump.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing Derek Stingley's going through now. Ed Orgeron told his dad he was going to play DB 1 year because he can play both receiver, DB, punt return, kick return. All Ed Orgeron said was just give me 1 year at DB. Look what happened. Had a national championship his freshman year. Now you turn around and you literally can't wait to see what he looks like next year.
Man, that's crazy. You figure your freshman year, you make that happen, you got 2 more years. 2 more seasons until you can even declare for the draft. And here we go. It's going to be interesting, man, to see that man on the other side of the ball. Oh, my goodness.
Man, I'm excited. I don't like LSU in the slightest, but seeing him play, man, it's gonna be scary for any receiver who ain't got no muscle.
Very true. Very, very true.
All right, folks. Appreciate you for hanging on with us through our technical difficulties. We appreciate all the love and support, and we thank you guys for tuning in every week. Smooth, you got anything?
Yeah, man, just to remind everybody out there, of course, you can continue to listen to us here on Anchor, but you also can catch us on Google Podcasts as well, Spotify, and are we now on Apple as well?
Yes, we are. We're on Apple.
Okay.
And Breaker, and we're also on YouTube through Method 8 Incorporated.
There we go, man. Because I know I have people asking me like, hey, man, are you on this or are you on that? So I just kind of wanted to put it out there to let people know where we are. And then also what we'll do is, put those links up for people to be able to get to those too. Because not everybody does have Anchor, which we want to shout out and thank them so much for allowing us to use their services to get this going. But yeah, guys, definitely tune in. If it's your first time listening, make sure you subscribe so you can get those updates for all the new content that gets posted as well as those episodes. And we just appreciate y'all for supporting us and listening in.
All right, we'll catch you guys after the Super Bowl especially. But in the meantime, I'm pretty sure we'll have a show next week. I'm pretty sure. But we'll try to see what news develops in between time with the transfer portal that we're going to get into with the NCAA next week, because I did want to get into that. But I wanted to save that until all the big names are done transferring.
Definitely sound like a plan to me. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we keep watching what goes on in the news this week, and we'll have more material for y'all next time. So if you guys are currently linked to our Facebook page, 4th and 15 with Mel Smooth, go ahead and post different types of questions or things that you have for us. And also, if there's anything that we need to address, just let us know. We're always looking forward to having those discussions because both Mel and I have those throughout the week. But we would love to be more involved with you guys, so make that happen for us, please.
Yes, we do. And we are listening and watching for you guys to make these comments. And for the record, we do know we have difficulties and we're going to correct them. So just stick with us. But Smooth, I'll holler at you later. Take it easy tonight. Don't be swimming in snow because it's snowing like hell up here.
Oh, yeah. Down here it's a lot of ice and just dry air, luckily, man. But, yeah, it happens, man. Columbus winter is a little bit different, but the air, I'm telling you, it's one that'll knock you out. So those of you out here trying to be running Boston marathons and all of that, tomorrow ain't the day. Tomorrow is not the day. Don't do it. But
all right,
y'all take care, and we'll catch y'all next time.
All right, later.